This hearty Southern-style Cajun-inspired stew is known for its thick, dark broth and its muddy appearance. It's loaded with smoked sausage and beans and leafy greens. It's actually quite budget-friendly. One of my favorite things to serve it with is fried corn cakes. This is the kind of meal that reminds you of simpler times and makes you want to get in the kitchen again. Hi there everyone, my name is Kareth. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've spent the last several years developing recipes that use freeze-dried ingredients. For those of you who have this type of food on your shelves and want to know how to cook tasty meals with it, this is the channel for you. Sometimes the recipes are 100% shelf stable, and other times they combine freeze-dried with fresh ingredients. All the time they're delicious. I experiment in the kitchen so you don't have to waste your time or resources. My recipes are tried and true. Welcome to the Freeze-Dried Foodie. Okay, y'all, this is my version of swamp soup or swamp stew. Don't feel like you have to follow this to a T. There's probably 1,000 different versions of swamp soup out there, and you can customize it to fit your preferences. I do love how very southern it is with the black-eyed peas and then, of course, the andouille sausage. When we lived in Louisiana, I loved andouille sausage. I fell in love with it then, and I like to put it in my recipes now, like my gumbo and my jambalaya. I'll try to link to those below. But anyway, I am going to put this full recipe down in the description box. Don't feel like you have to write it down as we go along. Just look in the description box afterwards if you want to try to make this. And like I said, feel free to customize it. I found andouille sausage in a freeze-dried version from Mountain House, and I really, really like it. I keep it in my freezer, actually. I highly recommend it if you want to try it. I'm also adding some pulled pork here because I love pulled pork, and why not? Some garlic's going to go in here. Now you can feel free to use any kind of leafy green. I'm using kale because I have that in freeze-dried version. But you could use a canned version of like turnip greens, collard greens, mustard greens, any of that. I've got potatoes in here and tomatoes, and you can add a can of Rotel if you don't want to use the freeze-dried version. I've got onions, 2 kinds of onions going in, and then like a bunch of seasonings, and these are all to taste. The seasonings here, that's gonna really help you develop a deep flavor profile. So I'll put down in the description box all of the measurements and everything like that. I think I did end up adding a little bit of paprika in addition to this too, just because I thought, yeah, paprika would be great in here. I'm using a can of the jalapeno black-eyed peas, but you could use plain ones if you like. I've also got a can of navy beans. You could use cannellini beans. All right, that's all there is to it, y'all. It's like a dump and go recipe. You dump everything in one pot, add the water, get some heat going, and then you're gonna need to bring this to a boil and simmer it for a while. It's just like all my other recipes. Bring this up to a boil. I think I kept it on a medium-high until everything came to a boil. Just stirred it a couple of times. I didn't have any trouble with sticking. It was no big deal. I reduced the temperature after it came to a boil to probably a 4 or 5 out of 10 on my stove, somewhere around a medium. And then I just let it simmer for probably 25 minutes. Just for me, my experience is that those freeze-dried potatoes, they give me a hard time getting soft. I don't know why that is, because I don't know that that's the experience of everybody. But those potatoes, I had to cook them for at least 25 minutes before they were soft. You can let this simmer just as long as you want to. And then as that was simmering, I put a lid on it and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make some corn cakes because I have 20 minutes here while that's going to simmer, 25. And I might as well show you how I make my corn cakes. Now, some people call this fried cornbread. I will put the full recipe down in the description box, okay? But this is kind of like cornmeal pancake, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. It's similar to my cornbread recipe, but the proportions are a little different. So I'll put this down in the description box, the recipe, if you want to make it. Okay, so I've got flour, cornmeal, I've got some scrambled egg mix. Of course, you could use fresh eggs here. You just have to adjust the water. I've got some instant milk powder because I don't keep milk anymore. You could, of course, use fresh milk or buttermilk if that's what you want to do. And then I've got some sugar because they're a little bit sweet. And then you add a little salt, some baking powder, you give that a stir. I like to add a little bit of the freeze-dried sweet corn, but it doesn't have enough time to hydrate if you leave it in its original form, so you have to put it in the blender or crush it up in a baggie. All right, mix that together, stir it really well, and then you can add your liquid. I'm just adding water here because I've got the milk powder in there. And then you need to just add as much as you need to add until it gets to like the consistency of pancake batter. For me, it ended up being around 1.5 cups, something like that. Okay, now at that point in time, when you think it's the right consistency, then go ahead and melt some butter. I've got 2 tablespoons of butter that I put in the microwave and melted, and then you can go ahead and add that to your batter. And just that little bit of fat in there, boy, that just makes your corn cakes turn out so good. All right, I'm going to cook these in my iron skillet. You can use your favorite skillet. You want to get it nice and hot and then coat the bottom with some sort of neutral oil. I'm using avocado oil. And then I've got a 1/4 cup measuring cup, and I'm going to add my little corn cakes in there. You just need to fry them on about medium heat until they are really nice and toasty brown, golden brown on one side. Give them a flip. Be really careful. Hot oil splatters and burns, so be careful. And then cook them another couple minutes on the other side, just until it's to the doneness that you like. Make sure you don't overcook these. You don't want to burn cornmeal because it tastes so bad, y'all, so bad. All right, now, if you make the little corn cakes, it'll make about 12. This recipe makes about 12. If you want to, you can make a giant corn cake. That one is the size of my pan. That's a 10-inch skillet. Just turn down your heat a little bit if you do the big ones so that they cook all the way through before they burn. But those are really fun to do. All right, meanwhile, my soup has been simmering away, covered on the back of the stove there on that burner for probably 25 minutes at this point, maybe 30 minutes. And you'll want to go ahead and give it a taste. Like I said, make sure those potatoes are good and tender. And mine was perfect. I didn't even add any seasoning to it at all. It was just perfect the way it was. Then you can serve this up. Some people like to eat swamp soup or swamp stew over rice, and that's really good as well. That's very, very tasty. But I just like it with the corn cakes. So anyway, that's how I served it up. Let me tell you about the flavor. First, let's talk about the corn cakes. Corn cakes are a little bit sweeter than cornbread. And because you fry them in oil, they get really nice crispy edges. I love the texture of it. It's crispy, it's light, and the corn taste is fantastic. Okay, the soup itself, it just tastes like the South to me. It is so good. There's Cajun spices in there, the Trinity shake, which is onions, bell pepper, celery, the greens themselves. If you like greens, you're gonna like this soup. And I think the addition of like the black-eyed peas and the navy beans, it just makes it so creamy. And because of the andouille sausage and of course the Cajun spice in there, this does have a good bit of spice. And so just be aware of that. It's really filling. It's hearty. I liked the addition of the pulled pork in my swamp stew here. I've never done that before. I really liked it. I'm going to do that from now on. It was very, very good. My mom always put a lot more greens in this than what I did today. If you want to add, 2 or 3 times the amount of greens that I said to put in there, feel free to do it. I like to dip my corn cakes in there, and then I think the juice from the soup or the broth from the soup with that corn cake dipped in there is just so yummy. I don't know, there's just something really special about this kind of Southern soup. If you're from the South and you've not tried swamp stew before, yeah, I think you're going to really like this one. If you're from somewhere else and you want to know what the taste of the South is, make this soup and it'll give you an idea of what it's like down here. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you spending part of your day with me today. I hope you enjoy the recipes where I combine freeze-dried with fresh, and I just kind of show you how I cook with freeze-dried ingredients. All right, I've got a scripture of the day for you. It comes from the book of Isaiah. This is Isaiah 63 verse 9, and it reads, "In all their distress, he too was distressed, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and mercy, he redeemed them. He lifted them up and carried them all the days of old." All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful day, a blessed week, and until next time, y'all take care and keep thriving.